Company, we're always on the run. Destiny is a rising sun. Oh, I was born a six-mech with me hand. Behind a gun, I'll make me final stand. That's why they call me Bad Company, and I can't deny bad company till the day I die. Rah! Bad company till the day I die. In other words, welcome to the Fluffenhammer. The music's already rolling. Roll the people! Fluffers! What is best in life?
Have a little bit of orc, boy.
Like you do at the moment. You definitely do at the moment. The Games Workshop have gone nuts with them, haven't they?
Oh, aye, absolutely.
They are liking their orcs. Well, have you? I mean, did you see recently that like there is now in the like competitive scene, there seems to be a building consensus that the orcs might be right up there with the Drukhari.
Well, apparently the.
Yeah, and the army list that's really doing it is a freebooters army list. Apparently, there is a particular. I don't know quite what it consists of, but it's a lot. I know it has lots of orc buggies in it, and apparently it's very, 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 very hard to beat. Very hard to beat.
That's cool.
So the combat against the Drukhari speed is with more speed.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, that works.
Some speed and some good old crumping. Yeah.
Actually, I've just realised that's
reading...
the first time anyone sees how I do my orc voice.
You get the jaw right out. And then you get the orcus going. Yeah. What you don't see, though, is the veins in your neck.
I was reading through the Orc Codex earlier. I tell you what, that is probably one of the most joyous codices they've ever published. It's just, they've gone hard for the humour. You know, that is what they've gone for. They've realised, I think, they've just got it. They've understood this time round that's kind of what people want from the 40k orcs. You know,
absolutely. You want them to be a little bit silly, terrifying in real life. Hello, Mr. White. Hello, Cassius.
Oh, we got people, and can everyone hear us? By the way,
yes. Is everything coming through? Because technology has a tendency of making me cry.
Oh my god!
It does. It's every now and again technology just follows me into a dark alley and decides to, kick me in the head.
Do
have its dirty way with
you.
Yeah, I get
it's thuggery.
Yeah, get a bit Slaneshy.
No, nothing sordid, nothing, no deviancy. Just.
Oh well, I'm not interested then.
It's like mugging, but without taking any money. You know, it's very unpleasant. I don't like it. I don't like it at all. No one seems to be saying that they can't hear us, so that's good.
Oh, I'm getting a little bit of feedback from you, Adam. Just a little bit of like buzzing and like skittering. Are you getting that, Andy?
A little bit, yeah.
I don't know what that would be.
It's like a electronic feedback or something.
Hang on a second.
Yeah, even Cassius says you're a bit on the glitchy side.
Bit glitchy.
Right, okay. Why?
There's a bit of scrap code infiltrated, obviously.
Maybe that's just how Adam sounds now. I don't know.
Maybe that's it. Yeah, maybe that's it. Maybe underneath that veneer, he's like a Necron now, you know?
Oh, jealous.
Yeah, right? God, someone actually, did you see someone actually asked on Twitter not too long ago, which of the Necron necrodermises would you like? If you had one? I would want the Chronomancers.
I mean, that's pretty good. Yeah, the ability to control time. The problem is you're just never going to be as good as some of the other Chronomancers, even if you can control time.
It's true. I mean, really, if you're going to go for it, you want like Illuminor Xeras's one, don't you?
Yeah, 100%.
Because for one thing, it's endlessly upgradable. You know, he's like incorporated elements from all of the greatest biological evolutions in the universe into that thing, like mechanical equivalents thereof. So yeah, he's pretty.
Do
good.
I still
we
have
had a book with him in yet?
Do I still have an echo, or have I no echo
No,
now?
but you've got a buzz, like a weird sort of buzz going on. So you've got a mouthful of bees. Nobody do it. Nobody do the Nicolas Cage thing, or they get a slap.
I wasn't. I was going for Dr. Bees.
Oh, that's all right. That's fine.
I was thinking of Adam spitting bees at people.
An influx of bees will solve this issue. What's that? Bring your bee to work day. An office full of bees. An influx of fresh bees should solve this problem.
Imagine that was an X-Man mutation that you became a beehive and you stored bees within you. And it got a bit David Cronenberg about it as well.
You're like a walking apiary.
Yeah.
It's like,
so you had holes like all across your body and stuff.
Yeah, that's kind of fun.
Yeah, it's not great.
I like it. I think it's very cool.
It'd be a great source of honey, though. So, it's not all bad. you could be hunted down by the bears.
Want to be a great source of honey.
I mean...
Not nice.
I mean, I wouldn't want to be a great source of honey. I'm just saying the person might really like honey and be like, you know what? I'm like the bee from the old cereal adverts.
So you'd be a walking cereal mascot, but a really macabre
Yes,
one.
yeah, it'd be one of those horrible ones.
I have many questions, and I don't know which one to ask first.
Love it.
Yeah.
Absolutely love it.
I think the first question...
Oh, okay.
I think the first question that I
all questions
really
are welcome.
Is, how did I get onto streamer mode? Uh-oh. I broke something.
Technical difficulties. I love it.
Oh my
no.
god.
That should solve the
Oh
buzz.
no.
Has the buzz been solved?
I'm glad I'm in front of the streamer
There we
mode.
go. Right, that should solve the buzz. Is there any buzzing?
You wondered what kind of microphone Adam was
It's a
using?
Yeti.
You now know.
Right, so I'm going to move this a little bit closer to my face. There we go. Right. I hope we sound good. So, we were talking about Necrons before. So,
We were. Although, they tend to be given a bit short shrift these days, don't they? A lot of people are saying that the Necron Codex, while it's not bad, is not the best.
It's probably
of the
it's
codices.
probably suffering the fact that it was one of the first ninth ed codexes, and now everything else is done higher pushes.
That said, I've been reading through. I'm not a Necron player. I will admit that completely, but I don't see the issue with it. I really don't. I've actually tried to put together some army lists from this. The only thing I can see that could be an issue is that it's over. There are certain areas that are massively oversubscribed, but that's not a problem. You're spoilt for choice. Like there's loads of elites. Oh my god, the elite section in this is just, there's so much that you can take that does different things and has different battlefield roles. I like this codex, but then I will say I'm not a Necron player.
Is the issue more so the fact that it sounds good on paper, but once it's applied onto the battlefield versus everybody else, it just doesn't stack up?
Maybe that's it. I will also freely admit I'm more of a fluff and lore person than a crunch person, and in those terms, the Codex is absolutely stunning. It's probably the best of the Necron codices. So maybe there is that. I don't know. I really like the Codex myself, and again, casual gamer. So. It would probably suit me in that regard as well. Maybe it's more on the tournament scene. And there was also the case that it was very quickly superseded in terms of the Xenos codices by the Drukhari.
The ultimate
who came
codice.
along shortly after, and I've been basically topping the charts since then.
Do you want to see as the next Xenos Codex then?
Well, we know what it is, don't we? We know what it is now. It's
out of ones we don't
know,
what would you like to see? I would go for.
You know, the thing is, I mean, people are always saying stuff like, oh, we need the Agiani, oh, we need, like, the Tyranids. But the thing is, I want those actually to be the last
that makes sense.
ones. I want them to take their time with those. Because the miniatures ranges, obviously the friggin' Eldar, the Agiani, I mean, my God. You know, they need more or less the entire miniatures range overhauling. You know, that bloody Avatar that came out, like, the same year I started the hobby, right? The Phoenix Lords, which was I remember a friend of mine getting me the Fugan, the Burning Lance miniature for my birthday when I was 8.
Oh, God.
Right? Oh, and we're still using it. We're still using it now. Those warp spiders. I mean, come on. The Agiani need a lot of work.
I think you could do some really cool things with the warp spiders, couldn't you? You could have like some of them mid teleport and like coming through buildings.
Have you seen the artwork of them? There's a lot of artwork out there, even in like the Second Ed Codex, where they basically had their debut, which doesn't match the miniatures, where they are much more spider-like. Like they're hunched over and they're moving in this spidery way, and their web spinners are coming off them as other limbs. So they look much more demonic. In the Eldari lore, the warp spiders are really sinister. None of the other craft worlders go near them because, of course, they spend loads of time in the warp. That's their whole shtick.
Would you like to see them? Do you think because we've got the spider people for Warcry that we'd get something fancy?
Well, there's like a list of rumors going on at the moment from some quite credible rumor mongers regarding 40k. And one of the rumors, on the list, it may be wish listing, I don't know, is that we're getting a Phoenix Lord for the first time for the Warp Spiders.
Oh, that'd be cool.
Well, they've got to have one. All of the aspect shrines have a Phoenix Lord. They have a warrior who established their ways of war, right? So where has the Warp Spider Phoenix Lord been?
I think it's going to end up being a part of the Inari, and it's going to be somebody who is going to be turning up to give the Inari a push. Because let's face it, somebody needs to give the Inari a push.
Well, again, one of the rumors that's floating around is that when the Agiani Codex hits, it's actually going to be a composite codex, and they're going to just incorporate the Inari into it.
Mm-hmm.
Which makes sense.
People are saying they're just getting a swirly screen. Do you mean that you get like a loading screen, or?
Yeah, it means that your connection with Twitch is going down. I'm watching the stream at the moment as well, and it's the connection's a bit on the ropey side, as Mr. Matt says.
Right. Okie dokie.
Oh no.
Why is that the case? Now, I'm going to blame the fact it's firework night.
And it's still getting quite a lot of feedback from you, Adam. Are you getting that, Andy?
A little bit, yeah. It was fine for a bit. It might be something to do with the connection, I suppose.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It might be. It's very crackly at the moment.
I wonder if it's worth then to...
Can people hear all right, or are they... is it just the visuals that are playing up?
So I'm just looking now to see... I mean, we're not getting any dropped frames. We've got a decent frame per second. So I'm not entirely sure what's happening there. Yeah,
What's cracking
I've got nothing in the background.
I mean, like speaking of old miniatures, I've been reading through my Blood Angels and Dark Angel supplements, and I didn't notice. You know how Mephiston had his new miniature?
Oh yeah,
which is great, absolutely brilliant. Do you know who didn't have a new miniature?
Who?
Can you guess?
No, I don't know them well enough. Gabriel Angelos of the Blood Ravens.
Commander Dante, who is the Lord of the Blood Angels and the Regent of Imperium Nihilus, so the second in command of the entire Imperium.
Why would he need a new model?
He's still using his old Second Ed model.
It's fine. No,
it's not.
No one knows Dante.
It's shit. What? Dante's lovely. Oh, poor Dante.
He's no. What's his name? I was going to call him McCragger Joe, but that's not his name. What's his name from the Ultramarines?
Marnius Cal.
Yeah, he's no McCragger Joe.
McCragger Joe. That will be his name from now on. You know. But no, I mean Dante is like he is one of the ultimate heroes of the Imperium. You know, he is the barring like the Dreadnoughts, who were like, you know, Bjorn the Fell-Handed, who's from the Heresy, and the Chaos Space Marines, who are from the Heresy. He's the oldest living Space Marine.
Would you say he's the golden boy of the chapter?
Oh,
stop it! Stop it! Yes, that's exactly what he is. But it's also true of the Dark Angels. So again, you've had characters who have had upgrades, who have, like, you know, crossed the Rubicon Primaris and become Primaris Marines. But Azrael, the chapter master, still using his old second ed miniature there. It's like, come on. Azrael and Dante are really big characters in the Imperium. They're huge. They need to give, even if they leave them as firstborn, which is fine. I can sort of see Azrael in particular staying as a firstborn Marine. Give him a new miniature.
Well, isn't Dante like super duper old as well, even for like a firstborn?
Yeah. He's 500 years old, which for like a firstborn is actually really old.
Yeah.
He's the oldest non-dreadnought space marine.
That's right.
Barring like your Chaos Space Marines, who are like from the Heresy and are like 10,000 years old, obviously. But he's the oldest Imperial Marine, and certainly one of the oldest serving chapter masters in existence.
Do you think they're not going to give him anything just on the basis that maybe story-wise they're planning to have him go out in a blaze of glory potentially?
That might be the case, I don't know. That might actually be the case. There are other characters who are very prominent in this. One of them, barring Mephiston, is Gabriel Seth, the chapter master of the Flesh Tearers, who are a Blood Angels successor chapter. He's got a new miniature. And he's kind of more interesting as well. You've also got characters like the Sanguinor, who's kind of like an angel. It's sort of like nobody really knows what it is. It's like it looks like a space marine, but it's almost like Saint Celestine. It appears on battlefields where the Blood Angels fight and are at their most desperate, and it descends in this halo of light. Some people think it's almost like a demon. It's like a psychic manifestation, or like almost a manifestation of Sanguinius's grief at the end of his life, or something like that. That seems to have kind of supplanted Dante a little bit.
Oh, wow. That's a bit sad.
It's kind of a shame.
Yeah.
Kind of a shame. He's a big character. I don't really know why they gave, don't get me wrong, the Chief Librarian Mephiston miniature is freaking awesome. It's just beautiful. But I don't know why they didn't do Mephiston and Dante.
Yeah, like I say, maybe it's that simple of a reason. Who knows?
And maybe there's going to be a narrative reason. Maybe that's it. I mean,
it would be like it'd be nice if there is like a narrative reason, or it might just be the case of production wise, or it might just be they just might not care about doing a Dante mini.
What it might be is the fact that the Blood Angels used to be one of the most popular chapters. There was a time, was there not, Adam, when these guys were they were one of the poster boy chapters.
Yeah. Second ed
everywhere. These days, there was the Ultramarines. Right. Everything like the boxes.
Oh, it was Blood Angel.
Sets, the Devastators, the Tactical Marines. They were Blood Angels on the front, weren't they? But they have dropped out of popularity hard since 4th ed. They kind of just went, when everything went Ultramarines, when the Ultramarines became the thing. They became there was even that awful 4th ed codex that even said so many of the other chapters try to emulate the Ultramarines,
including the Space Wolves, apparently,
and everyone went. Yeah, it really was a case of other Space Marine players were like,
I don't think that's true somehow.
Right. The Blood Angels just dropped off the radar a little bit, really.
Yeah, kind of a shame.
Which is kind of a shame. Yeah, I really like the Blood Angels. I think they're one of the more sort of tragically noble chapters out there. I like all the stuff with their blood rites and that kind of thing, and the fact that they are hiding this deep,
I always
dark
like the
curse.
fact that they are pure Hammer horror, right? They are absolutely Hammer horror. There is no two ways around it, and yet they live in a giant irradiated desert. there's a disconnect there that I really enjoy. It's like...
Yeah, and there's this weird mixture of elements as well. So they're also one of the more civilized Space Marine legions. Like, they've got elements of, like, the Emperor's Children, that in the sense that they appreciate culture. There's this thing where the Blood Angels, they, as monstrous as they can be, there's this human side to them, which I really like. You know, it lends them an air of tragedy and of a deeper connection than other Space Marine legions and chapters, you know? Although my favourite of the Imperial chapters is always going to be... Well, I say Imperial, and it's up for debate, isn't it? The Dark Angels, obviously. It's up for debate, I think, on that one. I do love baiting Dark Angels players, I really do. I mean, everybody loves baiting Dark Angels players, don't they?
I was always a bit more of a Blood Ravens fan, purely because they were the golden boys for the video games for the most part, and it seems like they were highly hinted that they might be the last surviving, the last remnants of the Thousand Sons, but they never talk about it. It's like,
almost certain.
Yeah,
it's almost certain. All of their imagery derives from the Corvidae, which was Ahriman's cult of the Thousand Sons. It's the cult of foresight. Their imagery, their nature, the fact that they are inclined towards psychic proclivities.
It's almost like there's a really interesting narrative where they could confront Ahriman or something. I don't know.
There is a... He doesn't come out and say it, but in the Ahriman trilogy, there is a point where Ahriman is having some sort of one of his many psychic vision quests, and he sees a red raven chasing like his spirit form. And it's like, it's trailing blood behind
because
him.
Of course.
It's kind of like...
It's a bit on the nose.
Yeah. You know.
But the problem was he was looking at it going,
for the Blood Ravens.
I feel there's some kind of prophecy taking place here. I'll stare at it for a while, see if I can work out what it is. It's a bird. It's a bird. And its insides are outside. Nigel Stormcaller likes to turn birds outside inside. The Space Wolves need our help.
And off they went.
Seems like that raven's been followed by 5 or 6 lawyers with copyright boxes with them. I wouldn't be shocked if that's another reason why they don't do a huge amount with the Blood Ravens, because there's probably some woo-woo tied with Activision or who I can't remember who holds the rights to.
Before. They've done army lists for them in White Dwarf, like supplemental army lists in them for White Dwarf.
I wonder if you can get away with that because it's only just
Maybe
like
so.
a little article in a book rather than like making a product.
I mean,
I'm
I would love
surprised
to see a proper supplement for them. That would be grand.
I'm surprised that they weren't
great,
the whatever the hell the last 40k buy and collect magazine was called. What was it called? Imperium?
You mean
Conquest? That's the one. I'm surprised that the codex they did in that wasn't the Blood Ravens.
Wasn't the Blood Ravens?
Yeah, it was some like smelly silver ones that like the silver hands
skulls,
or something.
was it, or someone like
I
that?
don't know. The silver surfboarders.
It's something pretty boring. So, man, if they all came with surfboards, that would be sick.
Space Marines.
Yeah, and they didn't have like the usual armored pauldrons for legs. They just had like 90s shorts for swimming, and, like some like flip flops.
Right,
power shorts.
Gentlemen,
I like power shorts.
Yeah,
gentlemen, I have to stop this conversation in its tracks now to introduce Sean in the chat. Sean is the master of the pun, right? Sean is not only the master of the pun, he's only just started getting into 40k, and he's just placed in the pun, what is the name of the Demon Prince Logar's cookbook? The Necro Nom 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 Nomicon.
No.
That's going in the grudge. That's going in the grudge book. That's going in the book of grudges. I've just built a tank, right? Tank, grudge.
The pun that burns.
Maybe the suggestion is Sean is a Zinchian demon.
Oh no, I like that as a plan.
And he uses wordplay
to sort of confuse and bamboozle and irritate, yeah.
Okay, apparently
to cause pain.
That would make him a Slaneshi demon.
Yes. I suppose,
Well,
yeah.
you know, a Slaneshi demon and a Zechian demon, they had one too many drinks, and Sean was born.
Most demons are a fan of causing pain, in all fairness, I suppose.
The only ones who really aren't are sort of like the demons of Khorne. They don't care about pain, they care about like the death.
Yeah, the blood.
Yeah, that's true. They don't care about causing pain. It's just like part of the process,
Yeah, it's
I
almost
suppose.
like a necessary element of the process, really.
Mm.
They're not sadists. That's the weird thing about the demons and followers of Khorne. They're not sadists in like
they're
in the
workmen.
sense that they are not. They're not
don't
interested
know.
in pain. You know.
Well, they're not interested in pain, but that doesn't stop them from like cannibalizing you
No,
potentially
that's
if
true.
you're part of the
Waste
tribe
not,
people.
want
So,
not.
you could say that's a little bit.
Waste not,
sadistic.
want not. There's no such thing as overkill, just getting the job done. You know, all the Khorne demons are basically like bricklayers. They just put the hat on, and they get in there, right, and they get the job done. That's all it is.
I mean, that's another.
Don't get me wrong. I appreciate their can-do attitude as a zombie when they see some flesh. You know, I can get behind that. I'm just saying that, you know.
Gotta give it, gotta give it to the demons of Khorne in that regard.
I'd rather not.
They're motivated.
Yeah.
They're motivated, aren't they?
Yeah. Oh, man,
They
can you
are,
imagine a
yeah.
coordinated motivational speaker? It's like,
Well, they exist. Coordinate motivational speakers kind of exist. What's the guy? What's the
That's
guy with
true.
the whip from the Blades of Khorne?
yes.
Oh, there's also the blood. What they call
Yes,
blood priests.
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, they're pretty good
Khorne
motivational
speakers. They kind of exist.
Blood for the blood god. That's
yeah.
pretty.
Do
Isn't
it!
Khan Betrayer? Isn't Khan Betrayer kind of a Khorne motivational speaker? You know, he
Actually,
runs
yeah.
shrieking, kill, main, burn, kill, main, burn, kill, main, burn. At,
Yeah, it's
top
kill, main,
of his
burn.
lungs.
Then
People in chairs watching him run by going, no, we should. Yeah, he's got a good point. We should kill and burn. Come on, lads. And he gets the lads together.
Not only do you have to kill the people, you have to plant them so you can kill them next year. This has been Khorne the Betrayer's TED Talk.
Is that why they put skulls on sticks?
Yeah,
Is
yeah.
that what it means to plant
yeah,
a person?
they actually think that you can grow people for beheading.
Right, so it's not just skulls for today; it's skulls for tomorrow. That's the whole thing.
Yeah.
Skulls all week long. Yeah.
Right, I get it.
You
They
like,
even
a
call
normal
it
person
the
would then ask,
harvest.
where would they even get a stupid idea like this? It was clearly a Nurgle guy told him about it as a joke, because it's like, this idiot's not going to believe how you garden.
Oh man.
Like, just shove some skulls in the ground, mate.
The
They'll
funny
grow.
thing is, a Nurgle demon would, because they actually do
Oh,
have
yeah.
a sense of humour. I love the way they're written in the fiction, generally speaking, because they are almost like totally demythologized in the way they speak and act. They talk and act like people.
Yeah.
How long until the new codex comes
Well,
out?
the
Are the pre-orders this
Maggotkin
week,
one.
or are they next
The
week?
Maggotkin battle tome.
Yeah.
I don't know, but that's going to be really interesting because that's the first chaos battle tome for 3.0.
Mm-hmm.
So
That's
we're
right,
gonna-
yeah.
this is going to inform the format
Yeah.
for chaos that comes throughout. So that's kind of interesting. And the Maggotkin have needed updating for a
Absolutely.
little while.
Yeah. Yeah.
Certainly. I'm not excited about it personally, but it's one that I'm like,
Yeah,
good.
I
I'm glad it's happening.
I
I've
really
actually-
love the Nurgle books. I mean, the Nurgle books are great fun. They're always enormous fun. The last Maggotkin tome was brilliant when it came out. It was not only, it was really characterful and fun, but it's got some great like fluff sections in it. Really good fluff sections about the Garden of Nurgle, the Manse of Nurgle, the way the demons of Nurgle are characterized. Their very strange humanity, where they're bumptious and kind of surly, silly and funny. Love it to bits.
Oh, yeah. I actually have something I want to discuss. I've got a couple of things I want to discuss, and I think now is a good time to point it out. This week, and this might interest both of you, I read the Twice Dead King.
Oh, okay.
Ah.
Yeah, Ruin, right? Fucking read the Twice Dead King.
Oh, really? Good, yeah?
It's not a big story.
You obviously meant to listen to it, didn't you?
Nah, read, listen, whatever takes you fancy, right?
Potato.
I went into it expecting it to be the story of the return of, the Silent King,
Right.
right? It's not.
Okay.
At all. It's small story.
No,
Well,
okay.
small for a Necron. It is literally Necron guy. Homeworld is being what's left of his homeworld's being invaded by humans.
Mm-hmm.
He goes to his dynast to try and get help. Discovers dynast and the center world has all gone seriously wrong. The final few chapters. But we're going to put the end of it away because I don't want to spoil anything, right?
Okay.
What you do have is an introspective look on what it's like to be a Necron.
Ah, interesting.
A Necron, a standard Necron warrior, or like the ones that have souls.
He's a cryptech. He's quite high up.
Oh, cryptech.
So
okay, sorry, I didn't mean a soul. I meant like one of the functional ones.
So
one of the
he's the
Necrons.
In life, he was the second son of the dynast.
Right. Okay. Interesting.
Right. The first son's a fucking genius. I love him. I think it's like legitimately, this is one of my favorite characters in 40k now. This is like brilliant. But there's cool stuff in there. Like wherever he goes, he's not alone because all of his servants have been turned into sub-programs that talk to him and do things. So as he's going off doing his stuff, you've got combat, doctrine, exobiology, and manners. And they're his 4 sub-minds, and they talk to him constantly. And he's just like, will you please shut up? And there's this wonderful moment where he's walking across the desert. He's like, well, I've been walking for quite some time now. I'm a little bit fed up with this. I keep thinking back to my past when I had flesh and blood. I don't like doing that. I don't know why I'm doing it. But there's a reason for that. And then all of a sudden, exobiology just goes, there's an animal over there. And you go, what? Why? Why did you tell me that? Well, look at it. It's really interesting. No, I don't want to know. I've got to go and see the dynast. I've got to say, you've got to come and help us because we're going to die. Yeah, but there's an animal over there. Look at it. It's got legs. What? He's like, I will shut you down. I will cut you off. I will delete you. You went, yeah, but this is an irradiated wasteland. Why are there animals? It's like, that's a very good point. And it's all full of stuff like that.
That is really the fun, isn't it? Of when you get the novels about any kind of the Xenos races. It's that it's that look at how they operate. That is the fun, insofar as I'm concerned.
You also get a
some of the books do it well. Some of them
not so much.
Kind of not.
But what this does really well is it gives you an idea of what it's like to be a Necron, what it's like to be a Necron, and what you have to do to stay sane. And the answer is obsession.
Yeah.
Right? So there's one of them who sits, and on every single one of his Necron warriors, he writes their life story in tiny letters. So every Necron warrior that he's got has their own life story written on their metal.
That's great.
That's very custodian.
It's so good. It's like
I like that. It's difficult to write, isn't it? Because you've got entities that are functionally immortal, so their perception of time is very difficult to comprehend. These are literally entities who basically blink and entire species evolve and then die.
Mm-hmm. But the reason that I thought that George was going to enjoy this and why George should read it is, hey George, do you want to know what it's like going through a bioforge?
Absolutely, yeah.
Do you want to know what that is like? Do you want to know what the queue is like to go through it? Do you want to know what the Catan were doing when you were going through it?
Oh, brilliant. So you actually get to get an inside look at biotransference then, basically.
Oh, you get to join the queue, and you get to go down the line and go in.
Wow,
whilst one of the Catans is floating around the top, because there's one of the sequences, he has to purge all of the memories of his flesh in order to survive, right? So you just get these flashbacks. The middle of the book is him bouncing between the now and the past, bouncing through his life, cutting out every single part of his flesh.
Wow. That sounds great fun.
It is such a good book. It's not as rip-roaringly fun as the other Necron book.
Oh, the Infinite
Divine.
the Divine. Yeah.
You bastard! Which is one of my favourite books that Black Library have ever done. It's wonderful. But as a more serious book, as a more it's an examination of Necrons, and it's
what, generally
so good.
speaking, that seems to be the way the fiction's going at the moment. I think they really do have their fingers on the pulse with regards to the Black Library fiction at the moment. The vast majority of what I've read recently is like that. So I read Guy Haley's Night Haunter, Conrad Kurtz, the Primarch book. Superb. I mean, really fantastic. I've read most of the Primarch books thus far. Magnus is a fantastic one, as you'd expect. This one is easily one of the best. There are very few action sequences in it at all. At all. This is a psychological dissection of Night Haunter. From his own perspective a lot of the time. I mean, it's so weird the way it's structured. It's like a retrospective after the heresy at the very end of Night Haunter's life. So he's on the world of Sagualsa, which is where the Night Lords end up. And he's just waiting for the assassin M. Shen to descend and kill him, because he knows he's coming. He knows that M. Shen is coming, because he's seen it in his visions, And Night Haunter has constructed a proxy for his father out of the living remains of victims. So it's like this weird homunculus thing that he's talking to. And he's calling it father. He believes that it's the Emperor. And he's basically telling it his confessions and his confusions. And he's asking it questions like, what... Am I actually a slave to these visions? Is everything I have done predestined as I believed? Or did I have a choice in this? And if I had a choice, does that make me just a monster? It's really good. The horror sequences are superb. The horror sequences are absolutely superb. There's one sequence in the book where, following the heresy, Night Haunter ends up separated from his legion and jettisoned in like an escape pod. So he's just floating in stasis in space. It's about 500 years after the heresy. So quite recently, historically speaking.
Yeah.
And this grubby, nasty little Imperial like garbage scow picks him up. And the crew know it's a Primarch, but they don't know which one. And he ends up getting out. And he spends X amount of time just sadistically tormenting this crew and doing things to them that are just repulsive, It's amazing. It's really well written. It's a very, very, very good book indeed. I was really impressed.
I'll add that one to my list.
Yeah,
I've really got into the Night Haunter. I think he's a really interesting character.
The Night Lords are really good. The Night Lords are really good fun. I mean,
the Night Lord books are just great.
Well, yeah, I mean, Aaron Dembski Bowden, anything he touches, he elevates, doesn't he? Any material he touches, he elevates. He's just got that knack. He's got that knack about him. He gets it. There's something about the way his imagination works. He keys in to certain essential elements of these subjects, but then he teases out aspects that were always there, but were always sort of like sublimated. They were in the background somewhere. He draws them out. So his books about the Black Legion, and Abaddon, completely changed that character, and yet it's somehow correct for him, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Where's book 3?
I know. He is writing it. Apparently, he is writing it.
I bet.
But those books are great. They are really, really good. I love when you first find Abaddon in the first book. And he's not this, like, uber warlord. He's this disheveled, broken, slightly jokey, like, sarcastic character. I love it.
He comes across as a talker who kind of feels that his best days are behind him and he's trying to work out some way of regaining his prime. There's a very deep sadness to the despoiler.
And a great reluctance as well. Like, he doesn't really want to come out of his retirement, does he? You know, he has to be sort of dragged and coaxed out of it by Iskander Kane and the others who come looking for him.
Mm-hmm.
And it's wonderful. I mean, it's absolutely wonderful. There's some massive spoilers, but that the bit where he confronts the clone of Horus. Mm-hmm. The symbolism of that is very clear, isn't it? I mean, it's very clear.
I like to think in historical terms that if that clone hadn't existed, Abaddon doesn't go down the same route and he becomes a bit more, shall we say, mindful? Maybe not entirely the right word, but he doesn't become the frenzied blood maniac that he is in later life. Yeah, there's more of a thought process happens to what he does. Maybe he doesn't do 13 Crusades. Maybe he does one and it works.
Although, to be fair, I mean, like,
sorry, maybe he doesn't do 27 Crusades.
Yeah. To be fair, I mean, in the current fluff, they all succeeded, didn't they?
Funny
they
that.
all did what they were supposed to do. In increments.
Yeah.
I mean, you could argue that was a bit of a rewrite just to make him seem a bit cooler than he actually
they
was.
took a rewrite.
Of course
it was.
It came about in the when Sixth Ed came out and the Chaos Codex was the first codex for 6th edition, and it was shit. It was a shit codex. I mean, it was just a terrible codex. They did release a very good Black Legion supplement for it. Which for the first time, like, it was just dedicated to the Black Legion, and it really redefined a lot of what the Black Legion was about. Like, for example, before this, the Black Legion was primarily comprised of the old Sons of Horus. That's what it was. This book said, actually, that's not the case. Most of the Sons of Horus are dead. There are not that many of them left. What it actually is just composite warbands. It's from all over the shop. They are from the other traitor legions. They're from renegade space marine chapters. They're from outcasts and pirates and all sorts of places. And the few Sons of Horus that still exist within them are kind of like the high captains. A bit weird. And that's where the retcons about the 13 Black Crusades came from as well. Where it was like, they may seem like failures, but that's actually just the way the Imperium perceives them. He actually succeeded in accomplishing his goals in each and every one, which led up, of course, to the destruction of Cadia and the opening of the Cicatrix and all of that good stuff. He needs to come back now, though.
Yeah. You can only hold these threads for so long when you've moved them as far forward as you have. You know,
when the Chaos Space Marine Codex comes out, and I'm led to believe that it's going to be one of the earlier ones in 2022, because there's a lot flying about it out there at the moment. They need to do something narrative with it. There needs to be like a narrative campaign, like, you know, one of the campaign books or something, to make to define what Abaddon's next move is. After Vigilus, which was a bit shit.
I have the campaign, right? So, Vigilus was such a letdown. It was so annoying.
Nothing, weren't it? Really, it was a little bit of a nothing.
Yeah. So, the planet Carpathia, right, floats in the cosmos. Abaddon brings his entire fleet to bear, shooting, destroying, burning, wrecking. Everything comes down. Demons of all the 4 chaos powers are brought to this planet. Abaddon turns. He opens up his, shall we say, shoe cupboard, and out falls Fulgrim, because that's where he's been all this time.
I wonder, I mean, the current scuttlebutt seems to suggest we might get the World Eaters before the Chaos Space Marine Codex.
I am now down fully for the idea that when Fulgrim actually hits shelves, that's when we end the show.
That's going to be it, is it? Well, it's a good marker. It's a good marker, considering we started talking about like the Emperor's Children and Fulgrim and how imminent they were. It's a good marker. Did I have my long hair then? I think I did, didn't I?
You did, yes, you did.
I think I did, yeah. So, my God, they've got to do it though, haven't they? I mean, it's more a case of when than if, isn't it?
No. At this point, it's literally going to be at some point. We will do this. I'm not going to tell you when, why, how, or where. It could have been last week, but we haven't told anyone because that's how Fulgrim's going to come out. It's going to be like Magnus came. We knew Magnus was coming because there was a picture taken by some bins, right?
Yeah.
That's how we knew Magnus was coming. Fulgrim is going to be, there'll be like a 60-foot balloon that just floats over Los Angeles or something like that. That's how it'll happen because at this point, you can't just say, oh yeah, here he is.
No,
I'll be disappointed. I'll be upset.
It's going to have to be quite grand, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
But the thing is, and also, they've built up such tension for it. Every time, whenever they do any of like the previews or anything like that, if you look in the chat, the things people always say when it's Fulgrim and Emperor's Children, they say it all the bloody time. It's what people want. It will be. I mean, and also the teasers, the bloody teasers, all the Slanesh stuff in AOS, which suggests a 40k equivalent, right? Mm-hmm. The Noise Marine. I mean,
How long ago was
3
that?
years. That was 3 years. That was the Christmas miniature 3 years ago.
You've got an individual Noise Marine, but no Noise Marine box set.
Yeah.
I mean, come on.
It's insane.
It needs to be done, doesn't it? It needs to be done. That said, I mean, you've also got the same thing with the World Eaters. Obviously, you've got this situation where these ancient Khorne Berserker miniatures. I mean, like absolutely ancient at this. I know, Adam. I know.
No, sorry, just Sean in the chat.
I know. But then in the fantasy setting, you've had this incredible escalation and evolution of the imagery of Khorne, where
I don't think the Khorne Berserkers have been, or the World Eaters have been teased quite as heavily.
But
the
rumors
Children, right?
seem to suggest now that the World Eaters are coming first. There's a lot of chat out there now from rumor mongers saying that the World Eaters are fairly imminent. So,
imagine if the Berserkers was just the same set, the same kit.
That would be an own goal. That would be an own goal to like the level of Brexit. That would be like the company punching itself in the face.
But you got extra little shoes that you slipped over the feet to make them taller.
And those silly gloves that they've got, those leather gloves.
Oh yeah.
I mean, do you remember when that set first came out? And they were revolutionary. That set was huge when it came out. I mean, White Dwarf just wouldn't shut up about them. No. It wasn't just like one article in one issue. I remember there was about a run of about 3 months where every issue had a World Eaters army in it, like a fan army. And also a feature about that set, about what you could do with it to create this or that. Because it was great. It was an amazing modular set.
Well, what you were able to do with that, you could add it to any other set that existed at the time. And that was the amazing thing about it. So you had like World Eater armies that had the Space Marine Tactical Squad that had those arms and those heads and stuff, and they looked great. You had Chaos Warrior sets that had those faces and whatnot. The sheer amount of mutability that you had out of those multi-part kits back then is brilliant because they're all built exactly the same: torso, legs, arms, head.
Yeah, I mean, the fascinating thing about the Khorne Berserker kit is for a brief period, it became the default Chaos Space Marine kit, really, because there wasn't a dedicated Chaos Space Marine box set that was any good.
No,
so
exactly.
People just bought that, filed off all the Khornate imagery, and made their own Night Lords and Word Bearers and all sorts from them.
When did the Night Lords get the bats on the helmet?
The bats on the helmet...
I am sure that came from a conversion, a fan-made conversion, like a Golden Demon or something.
I'm trying to remember if they had it back in second ed. I don't
think they did. I'm thinking it was
No, they did. They
did.
did.
Did they?
There is. Do you remember that page in the second ed rule book that was all hand painted and it was John Blanche's conversion notes? How you convert.
Give me 1 second.
Like, there is a picture, a hand painted picture of a Night Lord with the Batwing helmet.
Wow.
Yeah.
That far back then?
Yeah. It's only one. And I don't think there are pictures of any miniatures with it. It's like a hand-painted picture of a Chaos Space Marine with conversion notes beside it on what you do to create Night Lords. Yeah, I think that might be the first instance of a Night Lord with the bat wings. Have you got it, Adam?
Nah, you got his Playboy edition out. He has no idea what.
It's not I thought you were getting the second ed Chaos Space Marine Codex.
Oh, I'm not leaving again. I'm not leaving again. Right.
Do you remember there was after the heavy metal section, there was these 2 pages that were hand painted by John Blanche. And it was just pictures of Chaos Space Marines from each of the legions. Yep. And it told you how you could do things like affix cocktail sticks for spikes and that kind of thing. And in the upper right-hand corner, there was the Night Lord section. And there is one of the Night Lords that has the... And I even know what miniature he copied them from. It's from one of the old metal wights from the Undead range.
Jesus!
With the wings. Yeah, that's where it comes from. That's where the Batwings come from. And I think it's the only one in the Codex as well that's got that. None of the miniatures do. None of the miniatures have been converted. No.
And
I don't even think there's any description of them having that either.
No, this is what I was trying to work out.
Imagery. Yeah. I think it became solidified in the Night Lord supplement. Do you remember there was the 3.0 Codex, which was crap. The third ed Chaos Space Marine Codex, which was god dreadful.
Yeah, speak not its name.
Yeah, then they started to release the Index Astartes articles.
Yes.
In White Dwarf that were really popular, that fleshed out the histories and the background, but also the rules and the imagery of the different legions and the chapters. The Night Lords one features pictures, not miniatures, but painted pictures of pre-heresy Night Lords and post-heresy Night Lords, and the post-heresy one has got the Batwings. I think that's where it was solidified, and also the lightning imagery was solidified in that as well.
I remember seeing crikey, it must have been in third ed, halfway through third ed, somebody had snipped the wings off the Warhammer Quest bats and attached them, and that was the way. Yeah, and that was the way they did it. And it was just like, that's mental.
But it looks good, doesn't it? I mean, it does look good. It's silly because they're supposed to be really stealthy and to hide in the shadows. And when you've got big bat wings coming off your helmet, it casts
just
slightly
knocking bottles off
silhouette,
shelves,
doesn't it? You know,
you can't go to Tesco's with one of those things on. I'm telling you now.
But I love the Night Lords. I really do. I mean, the Night Lords imagery and their background, they're just the worst of the worst, aren't they? I mean, even like the most sadistic, the most inhumane of the other traitor legions do it for a reason. Like when the word bearers sacrifice and torture en masse, they do it because they believe it's right. They do it because they believe that's what chaos demands, you know? It's religious for them. It's ideological. The Night Lords do it because they like it. Because they are nihilistic super sadists. They're essentially serial killers in power armor. They are the worst of the worst of the worst. Elevated to Ubermenschers, you know? It's like, ugh.
Kurz actually says it to Dawn, doesn't he? Yeah, the idea of, was I made to be this? Or did I become this because of my upbringing? Am I genetically a monster? Or am I something less? And it's a really interesting idea because... I apologise for all the banging. It's a really interesting idea because if he was genetically made to be that, then everything that happens afterwards was on purpose. If he
it's
wasn't
kind
meant to
of-
be that.
Right.
But then
It's
that's
kind of
the
not
idea,
his
is it?
fault, you know?
No.
Yeah. Either way you look at it, actually, there is a degree of it not being his fault. Like, he landed on Nostromo, which is this dark, desolate world riddled with corruption and crime, and he became the Night Haunter. Conrad Kurtz became the Night Haunter in response to that. So... It's nature nurture. Is it innate or is it environment? Either way, whatever mix of that it is, it doesn't really matter. He is still there is an argument that he doesn't bear complete responsibility for what he becomes or what he is.
Yeah.
You know?
I would have thought it would lean a little into the idea of it being the sadistic side of the Emperor, since every child of the Emperor kind of leans into one aspect.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
So he is...
Because otherwise, what else does he lean
Haunter
into?
is the Emperor's desire for dominion, ultimately, in the name of justice. I mean, everything Night Haunter does, he does in the name of justice. He believes that what makes human beings moral is fear.
Yeah.
That's what he believes.
So the way that you take it is that he, because of his upbringing, he took that idea of justice and took it to the darker side.
To the darker side. I mean, that's part.
I
mean, that's an argument. That is definitely an argument. To what? I mean, but this is a question Night Haunter himself asks. To what degree is it innate? Is he made to be that? You know, and of course it's different for the Primarchs than it is for like us discussing nature nurture here as human beings, because they are actually created with an agenda and a design and an intention.
Yeah.
They're not.
Yeah.
born.
Each Primarch's there to fill a gap. You know.
Right.
Each one's there to do a certain purpose.
So what is Night Haunter? Is he the Emperor's sense of justice, but twisted because of his environment, because of where he landed?
No.
Or was he made to be a monster because the Emperor is weird and he sees the future and he knows some of his sons are going to become super evil and it has to be that way? Who knows? The Emperor's dumb or not dumb.
He's the Emperor's fear. You know, the idea that anyone who can't be brought to submission through force has to be brought through to submission through fear. Yeah. And that is what that is. The very worst things that a living thing can do to another living thing is all tied up in curse in order to bring about that fear. Then, I mean,
he's got this real sense of martyrdom about it as well. In the stories that feature him, he's got this real sense of martyrdom about it. He talks, certainly in the Guy Haley book, he talks about how he sacrificed his own nobility and all of the pomp and ceremony and love and adoration that the likes of Guilliman and Sanguinius got to be what was necessary. You know, that's his whole shtick. I did it because it was necessary. Even at the end, even at the very end, when the Night Lords have just become this hideous, corrupt force of like criminals and monsters and sadists, he still insists that is the case. So,
but then it's interesting because he still has a lot of the pomp and ceremony. And that he definitely has that need to be noticed. Maybe not loved. I think it's been twisted around a lot since then. But he definitely wants people to know he's been there. I mean, look at the theatre that the Night Lords have. Look at every single bit of pomp that the Night Lords go to. If they were a just down the line fear, it would be do horrible acts, leave. But they don't. They like to get a good string people up, make dead person marionette.
This is
have
it. This
tramps
is it.
being thrown at people's windows.
There are factions within the Night Lords that question this. There are some of the Night Lords, certainly the older ones, are slightly more noble than the ones that come later, the ones that are derived from the criminal elements and underground of Nostromo. And they do question this. They say, ultimately, are we what the Primarch proclaimed us to be? Are we agents of justice in this dark universe? Or actually, are we just sadists who pretend that, we tell ourselves it's for justice, but actually what we're doing is satisfying our own baser urges, we're just horrible super sadists ultimately. And the later Night Lords just acknowledge that, like the ones in Aaron Dembski Bowden's books, they've basically abandoned all sense or delusion of nobility. They're like, yeah, we are. We are just sadists. It's like, yeah, that's what we do. That's what we need.
Mr. White just put a thing into the chat. I do think the Primarchs were created with their twisted evolutions in mind. I always thought the two missing Primarchs were the two that escaped their predestined fate. They ended up more mortal than their brothers. Because of that, they became elements that didn't fit in, and they went against the greater plan.
It's an interesting thought, isn't it?
Oh, guys,
You know,
guys, we have
the ones who
somebody
don't
new in the
fit.
chat. We've got the Sugar Bear.
Ah.
I'm happy now. Now I know Paul's watching us. I'm happy.
Yeah, that was oddly salacious.
Oh, well, it's Paul.
And this is the Fluffenhammer, and it does tend
Indeed,
to
yeah,
get
yeah.
that way, doesn't it?
As I said in the advert earlier today, deviancy and Lovecraft. That's how the
You know
Fluffenhammer
what?
rolls.
I, with all my books, I actually haven't got my Slanesh battle tome, my Hedonites battle tome. So that's a shame, really, isn't it? This is a bit of a shame. Oh well.
It is.
Well,
That's a,
did you? I mean, this is totally off topic, but did you hear this rumor? And I think it's spurred by the Cornate team in Blood Bowl that we're going to be getting corn gore at some point for the Blades of Corn.
Yeah.
That's cool. That's really
Oh.
cool. I mean,
Sorry,
No, go ahead.
you just reminded me of something else, and I got all excited because I just remembered it. It's like, this is what happens when you don't see me. Occasionally I remember something, and I just go, ooh! Ooh! Yeah, so I remember something from 20 years ago, ooh! Just make it sound like a
it's always
surprised
like
owl.
that. If you're on a bus or in public, it's just like,
Yeah. It's really, really bad when you're in the middle of a funeral. Ooh!
I can imagine.
So yeah, the Grey Knights that popped up, right? So there was a guy on Instagram who had worked on painting the Grey Knights for their release, right?
Right.
And he went, I'd totally forgotten I did them 3 years ago.
What?
Yeah.
Wow.
So all those pictures were like 2 to 3 years old, and he'd done them for a release, like he had done the work for them to get them out 3 years ago, which gives you a really good idea of what the rollout is for these things.
It's huge, isn't it? I mean, it's actually much longer than you'd expect, the development cycle. I mean, that's one of the codices that's actually doing reasonably well at the moment. Interesting.
So I understand, yeah.
Yeah, the psychic codices are doing all right, which is a new thing. That's never happened before in 40k. I mean, the armies that tend to focus on psychic phases have always been a little bit, well, not very good, really, to be honest. They've always been like one-trick ponies, but they're creeping in. They're creeping in there, and people are starting to realize you can do naughty, dirty tricks with them, with certain builds and synchronicities that make them really good. I mean, one of the things that I've noticed is happening that people are talking about is the Drukhari don't have much in the way of psychic defense. Because they don't have psychers. They have one or two war gear items that can wreak a bit of havoc with psychers, but that's only on one miniature, and it's only war gear. They don't have dedicated psychic defense. They suffer against Thousand Sons, and they suffer against Grey Knights. The amount of mortal wounds that can be chucked out in a psychic phase by Grey Knights and by Thousand Sons is doing them a lot of harm, which is great.
Yeah. Absolutely.
I mean, isn't it lovely to have a counter to the Drukhari? And from armies that you wouldn't expect.
I mean, I'm not saying that your favourite 40k army of all time is now going to be able to run the Drukhari like a meat grinder, but the sheer amount of psychic power the Thousand Sons can throw out.
I'm loving the army, I've got to say. I mean, the Thousand Sons, they've always been my favourite in terms of background, but now they work. Arguably for the first time ever, they actually work as an army. And it's brilliant, I've got to say. It really is fun. I've managed to run a few games. I haven't, with proxies and whatnot, to see how certain units work. Dreadnoughts, Hellbrutes, Thousand Sons Hellbrutes are brilliant. This is... I've noticed people talking about this. 9th Ed, Dreadnought-style units are great. Walker-style units, for some reason, work really well in 9th Ed. They do very, very well indeed. The Nurgle Dreadnought from the Death Guard, the Hellbrute, it's almost a must-take. It's almost an...
What about them is so good?
I think
is it just they can absorb so much damage, or
it's the mix of elements. So they are very good at pretty much everything. They're good. They're good at tanking damage. They're good at firepower. They're very adaptable. You can kit them out to be either close combat or firepower based, or you can do a mixture of both, and they excel at both. They just seem to work very, very well in their allotted role. And again, that's kind of new. Dreadnoughts have been shit for loads of different... For like, I would say it since like 3rd Ed. Dreadnoughts have been like something you take because they're fun and because they're iconic of the Space Marines and whatnot, but they've never been good. You know, they're not good. Now they are. They're all good, actually. And the Thousand Sons and the Death Guard ones have certain benefits based on their army-wide rules. So, for example, the Thousand Sons one has the Heretic Astartes keyword, and what that means is it gets the same 5+ invulnerable save as the Thousand Sons, the Rubrique.
Oh.
It's a Dreadnought with a 5-up invulnerable save.
Oh.
It's pretty good, right?
Oh,
also,
that's nice.
It's not... You know how you can outfit them with auxiliary bolters and combi bolters? They're all infernal combi bolters for the Thousand Sons vehicles. So suddenly their firepower is a lot better. They're really good. I took an army that had 2 recently in a game, and I was fighting against my friends... Okay, it was against Tyranids, you know, which is not the best army list, but those Hellbrutes were fantastic. They can survive so much with that 5-up save. It's unreal, you know.
That is ridiculous.
Right. I'm really impressed. It's so nice for them to actually do something for a change.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah, absolutely. Rather than just kind of be sitting on the sidelines and shooting,
or just being like distraction units. What people used to do with Dreadnought style units is run them as distractions. So
which you shouldn't do. Dreadnoughts should be terrifying.
They should be scary, right? I mean, you should be able to like fight a demon prince with a Dreadnought. Not necessarily win, but wound it at least. You know. Which you could never do. I mean, it was just impossible before. It's not impossible now. Like a Demon Prince and a Dreadnought are kind of a good match, you know. The Dreadnought will generally lose, but it will be able to wound and hold up the Demon Prince for a little while.
Aye, absolutely.
Which was never the case before.
No.
Wasn't the role of the Dreadnought generally just to be like an anti-infantry unit?
Well, the Dreadnoughts are an odd thing because they could be outfitted to be anything. You could take them as anti-infantry, you could equip them with things like laser cannons and power fists, and then they would be good against vehicles and things. So they are just a mobile destruction unit, really, that you tailor to whatever you want them to do. But they're very interesting, and also I just like the fact that the Hellbrutes are slightly different from like the Imperial Dreadnoughts. They're not necessarily better, but they're different. They function differently. That's really nice. I really like that. It just leaves me wondering. I mean, it's the same for the Talos, you know, which is kind of, I suppose, it's the Drukhari equivalent of what the Dreadnought is. If it occurred in 2nd Ed, it would have been called the Dark Elder Dreadnought.
Of course, yeah.
Is that the Scorpion thing?
It's the weird kind of floaty machine that the homunculi with the the scorpion tail.
Is that still in operation? Because I remember the original version when it came out. Are they still using the same mold?
It's the mold they're using now is from the 4th Ed Drukhari Codex. It's very good.
Oh, you got an update. Okay.
But they're
very sexy, and that kit has so many parts you can use. So many wonderful parts.
They are one of those kits that I sometimes just buy because I want the bits from it. It's all those surgical instruments they've got. those like limbs with surgical instruments that come out the bottom. I mean, if you're wanting to make like a Servants of Fabius Bile army, they're basically ubiquitous. You have to have that kit.
Yeah, no, I'd agree with you on that one.
But it's nice, isn't it? I mean, it's lovely to know that like Ninth Ed is fixing a lot of these problems. I mean, Ninth Ed, all the editions of 40k have their own problems, and that's just par for the course. But thus far, I think Ninth Ed is one of the best we've had for a long, long time.
Mm-hmm.
I really do.
I'll be inclined to agree with you on that one.
It's just fun to play. Yeah, it's just fun to play. It feels like there was a time. Like the last edition. Even if I was going to play my Thousand Sons last edition, I would just resign to the fact I would probably lose. Yeah. You know, it probably wouldn't be that fun. It was just for the sake of it. You know, this time round, not at all. There are things you can do that are just so much fun. Most of it comes from those Kabbalistic foci rules, which are just magic. They're just wonderful, and they should have been there from the very beginning. They make the Thousand Sons work.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, everything focuses around that, and it's great. It's really wonderful. The Death Guard are a fantastic army now.
So
they're not easy to use because they're not meant to be. They're not meant to be. You know, they are a very niche army and they function in a very particular way. But when you learn how they work, they'll just do the business. They will just do the business again. And of course, they've got one of the best troop choices in the entire game, which is Plague Marines.
True.
Plague Marines are one of the most adaptable, all-purpose units in the entire game, and also they're troops choices that are the equivalents of most armies' elites. You know, they're really fantastic, really fantastic.
So, speaking of things that are both fantastical and slightly out of left field that you wouldn't expect, so there's a Genestealer cult on Earth.
Yeah. Yeah, and it looks like they're going to run with that narrative very soon, doesn't it? Which, I mean, that it's kind of scary, isn't it? It's kind of shocking to have something alien that close to the Emperor and to the heart of it all.
Well,
and something that can corrupt it from within.
Let's break it down a little bit to the surprising things here. There's a Genestealer versus Custodes box set coming out, and there's more than one Custodes in it. I think that might be. I think the balance might be out on that one.
Yeah.
They should literally just.
What's that meme? You know, did you see that meme that was floating around Facebook where it was sort of like 2,000 points worth of Custodes? Oh, now there's 2 of them.
And they've both got Henry Cavill's face. So, Nick in the chat's just said there's been rumblings about it since 7th. You're absolutely correct. Yeah.
They have, yes.
Absolutely.
That's true.
But so you've got Custodes versus Genestealers box set coming. I look forward to...
Right.
Do you think it's going to have large narrative repercussions, or do you think it's just going to be a setting for a box, and once the box set's sold, it's just going to be kind of brushed into the table? Because it could go either way.
It's set on Earth.
You'll have
it's set on Earth. It's set on Terra. It can't be just a single run box set, because that would just be that would be stupid.
You'd hope not.
If nothing else, there has got to be at least like a background section for this cult on. Or like, how does it operate? The Genestealer cult on Earth, how does it operate? It's going to have to be one of probably the most insidious of the Genestealer cult, surely. One of the more subtle, because surely it would be detected otherwise.
Well,
the amount of forces that must be routinely scanning everything on Earth.
I'm telling you now, it's already here in our time, and it's called Wolverhampton.
That... Oh, I could have said something really awful that I won't. No, I won't.
I will. Wolverhampton's a hellhole.
It is, yeah. It's
one of my first ever podcasting appearances anywhere is on an old episode, very old episode now, of something called Sonic Rex, which was done for the Sonic Stadium in like 2002, and the entire time I talked about how much I hate Wolverhampton. So,
it's understandable. I tend to go through Wolverhampton, tend to stop off there when I go to our mutual friend's Ray Curran's house, who I know quite well. it's never a pleasant experience. There's something attractive about like the urban decay of it. I've got to think about like industrial and urban decay. I think it's really interesting, but it is oppressive and unpleasant and grimy and dirty and just not nice, really.
You're not going to move there anytime soon, then?
No.
Okay.
But yeah, a gene stealer cult on Earth is fascinating.
It is.
Isn't
It is. It really is. It conjures up a couple of different questions. Like, for example, one, the Hive Fleet. That's a concern.
Right.
That's a big concern.
Yeah.
I mean, is this the big...
like calling or drawing a Hive Fleet to Earth?
I mean, look at what happened on Baal. You know, the Baal barely survived going up again. Was it...
Right, and what was...
it was Kraken.
What happened there? You had like multiple Space Marine chapters like drawn to it. It wasn't just the Blood Angels. It was like their successor chapters as well.
Yeah, everybody had to...
fighting, and you had like almost entire successor chapters almost wiped out by the Tyranids.
Yeah, and this wasn't exactly like Behemoth. You know, this was like I want to say, wasn't it like a splinter of Kraken or something like that went after Baal?
It was a splinter of Kraken, yeah.
So you know, we're not talking like one of the weird fleets. We're talking this was just Tyranid Hive Fleet coming at you.
Yeah.
You know, so coming that close to Earth and having a cult on Earth, that really conjures up some serious concerns, because that could be something.
Yeah, it doesn't off.
Which would be a really good way of reintroducing the Tyranids as a threat, which they haven't been in a while.
Not for a long time. Not for a long, long time. I would say the last decent Tyranid Codex was in maybe 5th ed. Maybe. Since then, they did that thing where they massively overpowered them in that edition.
Yes, yeah.
Like, ridiculously. I mean, like, to the point where no other codex could stand against them. It was absolutely ridiculous. Tyranids were everywhere. Which, you know what? I think the Tyranids should be that. I've got no problem with that. Sod game balance. I don't give a shit about that. The Tyranids are supposed to be that scary.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Well, you look at them in second ed, right? Second ed Tyranny Codex is probably the pinnacle for me, because they're mutable, they're changeable, they're terrifying, and they have some serious weaknesses, but you have got to learn where those weaknesses are. You know, you need to be able to disrupt psychic powers, right? Or else you're in trouble. You need to be able to...
You need to be able to take down a screamer killer.
Well, I was going to say, you need to get...
Which is difficult.
You need a lot of guns. You know, you need to be able to shoot a lot of guns each firing turn.
Or a bloodthirster.
Or a bloodthirster, yeah.
If you've got a bloodthirster, you might be all right.
Yeah.
Might.
I mean, I remember there was a White Dwarf battle report, which was an Imperial Guard versus a Tyranid. I think it was like coming up at the end of second ed, and it was a slaughterfest. The Guard got absolutely chewed to bits. And I remember reading it going, well, that's just the most unfortunate thing I've read for quite some time. It was gone.
Was the Tyranid Codex the last codex for second ed? I think it was, wasn't it? No, it wasn't. No, the Sisters of Battle would have been... The Sisters of Battle?
Yeah, Sisters would have been the last one, I'm sure.
I think it was, but it was one of the latter day.
Yeah, it was towards the end.
Wasn't it? It was like power creep was. People tend to forget this. Power creep was much more of a thing back then. It was much more of a thing. What tended to happen was the new army was the shit. It was the one that dropped and just like obliterated everything else. The Chaos Space Marine Codex did it from back then. Do you remember when that hit? And it was like suddenly like just your Imperial Codex is just like, forget it. Just forget it. Nobody could stand against the Chaos Space Marines. Well, Abaddon back then was a freaking beast. It was ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. Anything you pointed him at died.
Yes, usually.
That was just it, you know? Unless it was a second ed screamer killer. Which had... Do you remember the list of 10s in its stats?
I do, yeah. Yeah.
It was ridiculous. It was like weapon skill, ballistic skill, strength, toughness. It was insane, that thing.
movement.
What wasn't on a 10?
Movement, yeah. Maybe I don't know, initiative, maybe. May not.
But
have been
then,
10.
if memory serves me right, it didn't matter what its initiative was if it was near a hive tyrant. Because then it got 10.
It didn't matter, no. So...
if it was within a certain certain distance, it got a 10 because it was near the hive tyrant. So
very little could combat a screamer killer back then. It was ridiculous. If you had like a Tyranid force that had more than one,
you were you were going to kill everything.
That's before you even count all of the other ridiculous monsters they had. I mean, the hive tyrant was no slouch.
Oh no, the hive tyrant was a true monster. Yeah, I remember a hive tyrant with the way that the rules worked back then. The hive tyrant could go in and it could take apart a land raider. Right?
Yeah.
It just walk up to it and just start tearing it apart. Just no, not a problem. Yeah. I'm just going to get to the meaty center, and that's me happy. Yum 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 yum.
Right. And they were powerful psychers with incredible powers. They were big monsters that could tear apart pretty much anything. They had great ranged weapons. They had loads of biomorphs for combat, some of which were instant death weapons, like the bone swords, by the way. You know, it was ridiculous.
Do you remember
they were absurd.
What was it called? The Devourer, was it? That long rifle thing that they had, where they just fired meat-eating grubs into you, and they just ate you from the inside out?
Yeah. It was absurd.
Ignore save. Oh, all right. Yum yum yum.
Yeah. Which was a big deal back then. I mean, most weapons didn't negate saves. They had an armor save modifier. Yeah. It was very rare to have a weapon that just completely negated saves back then. I think the only other ones I could think of that did that were things like the Catan phase knives and things, which were really rare. Really rare. They were weapons wielded by the Cypher had one of them. Cypher had a Catan phase knife back then. And I think the Calidus assassin had a Catan phase sword, if I remember correctly, which negated armor saves. That was about it. Oh, and Dracnian obviously negated armor saves, which was a big deal. It was a really big deal. Mostly it was the reserve of special characters.
Yeah. But
for the most part,
you didn't get them on your general very often.
No. You got a lot of weapons that did die 3 wounds or something like that, but not negating armor completely. Although that wasn't the worst Dracnian ever was. It wasn't the worst incarnation of Dracnian in terms of how damaging it was the 3.5 code, the well-remembered 3.5 codex, which everyone loved, apart from non-Chaos Space Marine players who hated it, obviously. The rules, I will always remember reading the rules for that because they actually gobsmacked me. You only ever got one attack from it. Right, one attack per turn you could make with Dracnian with Abaddon. The rest had to be made with the Talon of Horus. But if that attack hit, you didn't make any other rolls. Anything it hit, not wounded, hit, done.
Yep.
Just removed. No armor, no invulnerable saves, no negating, nothing. If it hit, bearing in mind Abaddon for the most part will be hitting on 2+ because he had a really high weapon skill. Whatever it hit died.
Yeah.
That was
if it was in the way, it got hit, dead. Gone. Yep.
Yeah. Tanks, greater demons, avatars, demon princes, screamer killers, anything. Abaddon could kill anything back then. He was a monster.
Yes.
Maybe a little bit too much.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing he couldn't kill was a grot.
Because
I was going to say that's because there's a multiple line of Makaris and you can't kill a Makari.
Yeah, it's impossible. It's actually impossible. Yeah, Abaddon was an absolute beast back then. I mean, he's a beast now. Yeah. Obviously, he's an absolute beast now, but he still can't auto-kill whatever you chuck him at.
Yeah, yes. He has to put some effort into
I can
it.
see why they changed it. Yeah, I can see why they changed it.
What else was kicking around on the Warhammer Day thing that you like the look of? Andy, was there anything that jumped out at you?
Not really. There wasn't a huge amount for me from the Warhammer Day personally, because nothing was dead.
No,
nothing was robot. So yeah, not a huge amount for me in the way of things. I did like the look
They
of
were
the
very
spider
cool.
people though for
Yeah,
Warcry.
yeah,
They were neat.
Very like unusual aesthetic for Chaos and for like the realms.
Yeah,
right?
very much so. I mean, I really should have got some photos to bring up, but we were busy having technical issues, so I didn't.
Technical issues, right?
But yeah, the spider people for Warcry really sing to me.
Very nice, very nice indeed. People really like those Dark Oath as well as like a contrast to.
I've got a theory.
Because they're very traditional.
I've got a theory, right? So we all know there's a new Hero Quest coming, right? We all know that there's a Kickstarter for it, and eventually it's going to hit the shelves in some way, shape, or form, right? They are, yeah.
People are already getting their pre-orders.
they actually?
Oh yeah, I've just seen a review earlier today,
yeah.
and I'm glad I didn't go for it, to be honest.
Really?
I don't like it.
Why not?
I think the miniatures look terrible.
Why?
Well, for a start off, they're
What's
bent,
wrong with them?
so that makes me feel very unhappy. The plastic's really soft,
They
so the
bend.
barbarian's sword, you can bend it back and forward.
Oh, it's like rubbery.
Ew. Is that
assume
for
so.
kids? So like
I
they
assume
don't poke
so.
their
I
eyes
assume
out or
so.
something.
But yeah, there's things in the sculpts I just don't like very much. I think it's because they've got a real Dungeons and Dragons aesthetic. So
Right.
it's quite a it's very thin. It's very Dragon's Quest. Dragon's Quest? No, what the hell is it called? The Xbox 360 game, Dragon Age. Yeah,
Dragon
yeah.
Age,
So it's got that
yeah.
very Dragon Age realistic human feel to them. I don't like it. Yeah, I don't like it. I don't like realistic humans. It's why I like you two. It's
Yay! Well, I'm a
yeah,
zombie.
yeah.
So that's fine.
Realistic people are just not interesting. But yeah, so I'm not a huge fan of it, to be honest with you. I'm glad I didn't go for it. I think the board looks sexy as hell. I think all the artwork is gorgeous. I'm not a huge fan of the miniatures. But Warcry has that barbarian, which is the Hero Quest barbarian. Let's
It's the Hero Quest
yeah,
barbarian, isn't
let's
it?
not call it a spade here. In Curse City, you've got zombies, and they are the Hero Quest zombies. Right? There's little references. I am convinced that Games Workshop are going to re-release the entirety of the Hero Quest miniatures over the next couple of years in different lines. Right?
And then maybe release like a board game which is not Hero Quest but kind of.
Well,
is.
you just do Warhammer Quest, the Deeper Dungeons.
Right.
No, wait, no, that's an existing game. Don't call it the Deeper Dungeons. I don't know. Warhammer Quest, Morkar's Hat. I don't know. Whatever it is. Revenge of Mentor with 5 R's. But yeah, that's my theory. That they are going to re-release all of the Hero Quest miniatures in different lines.
Right,
Don't
interesting.
know how they'll do the elf, because...
The mummy would be nice. I'd like to see the mummy.
Right, you telling me that you're not going to see a Warcry mummy warband at some point? Or
at some
not a
point.
Warcry, an Underworld's mummy warband?
At some point.
I mean,
yeah,
we've just got...
I'm sure they'll do something.
They've just announced the fact that they're releasing the main villain from Pirates of Darkwater in Harrow Deep. So, and
Yeah.
I was really disappointed because they were showing off a pirate theme and I was like,
Yeah,
they're doing
yeah.
the vampire coast like from Total War Warhammer, and then they just pulled out an ogre. I was like, I mean,
Yeah.
it's cool, but
No,
it's not
no, it's
Necroflex.
No, I mean the vampire pirates. I mean they actually did have an army list, didn't they? Way back when, like back in White Dwarf.
That's
they
right,
did.
yeah. And that's what Total War Warhammer used,
Yeah.
I think, as a basis to make that army, and then they went crazy and did giant crabs
Oh,
with them and
brilliant.
everything cool like that.
I'm actually
so
They
good.
could
really
do
sad.
with doing something like that for AOS, definitely.
I think it's now time to really start pushing AOS. They need to start really going to town.
Well, there's some such good stuff. I mean, I actually did get the battle tome for the Stormcast recently. That is absolutely brilliant. Yeah,
third ed one.
it's wonderful. I mean, the Stormcast are a really hard sell for me. They're a really hard sell. They're a little bit pure and they're a little bit
not no more. They're not
for my tastes. Love them. The new ones are fantastic. The book is just full of detail, and they are more intolerant. They're more like they're like Templars now. So there's this element of bigotry to them. Like the new Stormcast who are following the Dawnbringer Crusades are not nice people.
No.
They're not nice people. They are basically sacking and burning any city or settlement that has even like a hint of corruption or heresy about it. It's fascinating. I like that element of them, I've got to say. And also the new aesthetics of them, which is more angelic and more less human. It's less human. It's more interesting to me.
Yeah, they're no longer just people in big suits of armor. There's a real...
Right.
I can't remember who said it, but I remember reading somewhere that somebody said that the new Stormcast looks like Yggdrasil started birthing people. And that's actually quite an interesting way of looking at it. There's a real mythological bent to them, which it's been there since the beginning. But it's really taken a different path now, where instead of being these are the golden saviors, it's now these are the golden angels. And if the way that the Bible, especially the Old Testament, works, the angels weren't good. No, the angels were...
Well, they were certainly very scary.
They were terrifying.
I mean, if you read the descriptions of angels, they are very
giant
frightening.
pillars of flame and penis,
Well, they tended to be tended to be depicted as like wheels of fire with eyes on them and multiple sets of wings, and the notion of like the humanized angel didn't come about until like medieval times. So it's and they've kind of gone for that. They're a little bit more less than human. They're more abhuman than they used to be.
I think they look like Greek statues, like the Venus de Milo kind of statue. Like they're too perfect visually and proportionally.
The proportions have changed quite dramatically. They're not sort of like those squat, slightly...
Yeah, they're not little fat boys. They look... have you seen the original Stormcast next to these new ones? It's like the firstborn versus the Primaris in some aspects.
It's not favourable, is it? Like,
No.
The new ones look great. They do. And the feeling of the
100%.
battle tome is really interesting. They've gone deep. They've tried to make them sort of equivalent to some of the more interesting armies in AOS, and give them a bit of tension, give them a bit of grit. And it's worked. It's worked.
Did you find that the Stormcast battle tome doesn't have the edge of hope and light that the last two did?
It's much darker. It's much darker. I think that seems to be like the way they're going with 3.0 after the Broken Realms stuff. It seems like things are a bit more fractious now. Things are not as positive and as hopeful and as stable as they
love
were.
the fact
everything's been unsettled.
that the Age of the Beast is less hopeful than the time before it, where the dead kept getting up.
Yeah.
It was a good time. What are you talking about? Your friends came back. You got to say hey. You joined them.
Have
Have
you guys seen how the Nighthaunt work in lore now that the Soul Wars are finished? It's really interesting. No. The idea is that the dead kept getting up. The ghosts everywhere because of all the necromantic energy that was kicking around, right?
Yeah.
So now what they're doing is they circle in on necromantic energy. So the more that there is in a certain area, the more dead are going to get to it, like a natural spring, right? If somebody is walking around, for example, with like a magic item that's got a bit of necromantic energy, a bit of dark energy to it, ghosts will appear and start coming for them, right? It gets better. Say you're a merchant, right? And the shoes that you are wearing came from a merchant in Shaiish.
Right. Got
Ghosts.
you.
Ghosts.
You might find yourself haunted because of your shoes.
I love it. I think it's brilliant.
I like it. So you're going to actually get like the notion of hauntings now. That's nice. I like that. I really like that, as opposed to them just being everywhere.
Yeah.
Which they basically were after the Necroquake.
Yeah.
They?
It was
it
was a ghost pandemic. Yeah, that's pretty much what it was. Yeah,
an infestation, metaphysical infestation.
But what I quite like is that the Soulblight, who have taken over as basically the spires for all the undead things to get around now, right?
Yeah.
Wherever the Soulblight go, ghosts will start appearing. Right, so it doesn't matter if there's one Soulblight vampire who's just maybe off on a trip to the shops. The moment he gets to Tesco's and he spends a couple of minutes there, ghosts will start appearing just because he's there. That's
because they are foci of necromantic energy, aren't they?
I love that as a concept. That it's like a reverse version of the idea of L'Oreal. Wherever she goes, life springs. Wherever these guys go, death will appear. Yeah, it's just like
I like that. I like that a lot, actually. I think that's really cool. And it fits with the mechanics of the way the ally system works now, where you are going to be able to have, like, Soulblight and Nighthaunt and Ossiarchs all just chucked together if you want.
Apparently my sound is completely wrecked now.
Oh, no!
No! Why? I don't understand why. I fixed it. Or at least... I don't understand why. There's...
When you listen back to the recording, you'll be able to hear what the people hear.
That's really annoying.
But I mean, I'm looking forward to the new book, the new Nighthaunt book. When it comes out, it's got to be soon. We've seen stuff in the rumor engine that is. It is definitely a Nighthaunt miniature.
Yeah.
It is definitely a Nighthaunt miniature. It's got all like the curly vaporous stuff that all the Nighthaunt have. It's so that. It is so that. So they are coming. There's no doubt they are coming. It's just like when.
So the suggestion is the new mini is probably going to be another character for them. I'm assuming, right?
Guess, yeah. That would be my guess.
Because they've already got quite a few characters at this point that fulfill
they're sort of
certain
anchored
roles.
by their characters, aren't they?
The problem is that the troops just can't do
crap,
anything.
They are
apparently
everything's
crap.
Absolute shite. They really are.
Yeah.
The problem is they made them so that their principal effect is psychological, and it just didn't really work. It just didn't work, unfortunately. Maybe this time round, maybe that they'll be a bit more interesting in that regard. I mean, really, that should be their thing, shouldn't it? They should affect psychology. They should affect leadership, They should be able to force, like, break checks and things like that, and ensure that more miniatures either die or run away as a result of failed checks, that kind of thing,
And I suppose also be able to use terrain to their advantage. So if there are buildings surrounding the enemy so they can't fire at you, you can get in through the buildings and kill them. I'm not sure how that would work table-wise.
Yeah, I mean...
but that would be another way that you'd kind of utilize them. Because I said that I think the most dangerous ambush army in Age of Sigmar are the Nighthaunt. Because if you're traveling down a cave,
you're done.
You're screwed. If you're attacked by 6 ghosts... 2 come from the front, 2 come from the back, 1 comes from above, 1 comes from below. No escape.
The fact that terrain means absolutely nothing to them. They can just pass through.
Yeah, I don't think it can be fully utilized just because of how the game works. It can be partially utilized, but not completely.
Yeah, because it would unbalance the game, wouldn't it? But
that's the thing. Like, how you can have summoned units pull in from, like a 12 inches from any enemy as long as it's from the side of the board? It would be nice to have, like, maybe the Nighthaunt ignore that rule and can pop up almost anywhere on the map straight away. But I guess that, again, would unbalance them as well. But it would make more sense because you could argue that they were, like, traveling under the ground so they weren't
or just
seen.
Materialized in that particular location, there's a lot they could do. They could really look into, like, ghost lore and, like, poltergeist lore and do some really fun, interesting stuff with them. I hope they do. I really hope, because they are aesthetically a beautiful army. I mean, absolutely.
Well, you
beautiful.
go back over the years, and how often have you seen an old ghost army?
It's lovely to see like the ghosts and the spirits having their own army list. I mean, I've always loved that. So hopefully.
Yep.
Yeah, it just didn't happen, did it? It just did not happen.
Well, what would it have been at that point? It would have been Hex Wraiths and Spiritos and
maybe
Banshee, and that's probably it.
You know, depending on when you came in, you know, what era.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would have been it. You wouldn't have had like the characters or anything like that.
Oh, a Khan Wraith as well.
Yeah, you would, because they're from like the latter days of like the old world, aren't they? The Khan Wraiths.
I mean, they pretty much based the entire Nighthaunt on the Khan Wraith and just went, what if we did more of these and made a Khan Wraith just a super special one?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, the Khan Wraith is actually just like it's a derivative of like the Warhammer World's origins with Tolkien. Really, it's a Barrow Wraith, isn't it? That's what it is. It's a Barrow Wraith.
Mm-hmm.
But no, they could do a lot of work with the Nighthaunt to make them interesting. They've got great lore. They've got great characters. I mean, amazing characters. I love the Lady Oleander. She's absolutely beautiful.
Have they done anything with Kurdos? Because I really like his premise, but maybe they haven't done too much with him just because like getting him to speak is difficult because obviously that's taken away from him. I think you could probably do a good perspective story.
Oleander's done some cool stuff. Obviously, Nagash.
I mean, Oleander's done stuff.
Where's
Kemler? Come on, bring back Kemler.
No, I don't think they have.
Shame.
He is. He's just a wonderful old mad tramp who goes around raising the dead.
Oh, yeah. So now that would make me very happy if Heinrich Kemmler came back, because he.
It depends.
So
I mean, Soulblight is going to run a lot of the Nighthaunt stuff by itself because that's taken over from Legions and
when they do the Nighthaunt, then the Ossiarchs aren't going to be far behind.
Maybe. I don't think they'll do a lot of death stuff back to back. I think they'll keep doing,
of course,
how they seem to be doing it now, which is order, destruction, chaos. I think they'll do that for a while, which it makes sense. You know, try and get as many of these things out as possible. I would quite like it if they just did a blanket. Here is all the old ones. Here's all the older ones.
Yeah.
Here's all the chaos ones. Here's all the week. Month 4, here's all the chaos. Number 5, here's all the destruction. And then we get to the new stuff. Because there has to be new stuff coming.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
That was one of the rumours, wasn't it? In that rumour dump that we had, that there was apparently a new race turning up at some point. In AOS?
Or an old race.
Who knows, Who knows?
Gruff. With hats and tusks and beards.
Yeah, well, that is almost like, it's almost certain at this point. There have been so many references to the Oathbreakers.
They're as certain as the Emperor's children.
I suppose you could look at it. Or the squats, you know.
Until we see something, never believe.
It's true. I mean, what they'll do with them is up in the air. I mean, there have been. I mean, there are Chaos Dwarfs in a lot of the war bands for Warcry, you know. So
Hats.
They don't have hats.
Give me hats.
The ones we've seen don't have... Well, they do have hats. They're just not like the old
bigger hats.
Chaos Dwarf hats.
More hats.
They're not massive hats.
You're going to have to make yourself a mold and then just get yourself some green stuff and mold these hats for every single dwarf and hope that they're an elite army rather than a horde army.
I just demand more hats. I demand all of the hats. I need 17 different hats that I can put onto all my dwarfs. Just a pack of hats.
If it's any consolation, the ones we have seen do have the iconic sort of knotted beards.
Yeah.
A beard is not a hat, though. You can't wear a beard on your head.
No, it's not.
No,
it's true.
I just think that we need to have bigger hats. I think that what we need to do is release just a pack of hats, and it's 17 quid, and you get 300 hats.
What would you call that? A haberdashery of hats?
Hat pack.
A pack of hats.
It's just a hat pack. It's an action hat pack. One hat's got a cannon coming out the top. Yeah. But yeah,
I mean, what if they do occur? What will they be like? I mean, what role will they fulfill? Because interestingly, a lot of like the battlefield roles that the Chaos Dwarves used to have has been filled by the Caradron, hasn't it?
Okay.
So, what are they going to be?
Sit back, ladies and gentlemen, and let me tell you my theory on the Oathbreakers. The Oathbreakers are going to be the people who sell the weapons, right? They make the weapons, they sell the weapons. But to do that, they need to have... apparently I'm still very quiet, for fuck's sakes. Honestly, I do not know what the hell is going on. Let's try that one. So what you'll have is a lot of long-range weapons, blunderbusses, rifles, cannons, mortars,
that sort of thing.
All that type of thing. Yeah, so it's going to be a lot of sit back and fire. A huge amount of weaponry. Then at the front, you're just going to have armor, just a shield wall of armor for everything to shoot over. That would be my guess.
Right. I imagine like aesthetically, they might incorporate elements of like, you remember the old Chaos Cannon?
Yes.
From Days of Yore that had two Chaos Dwarfs with it?
The one that looked like a big old schlong and ball sack. That one. Yeah,
pretty much. Yeah, it was a proper sort of demon engine, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Probably like that. So like demon infused artillery. Yeah.
What I want to see is, I want them to really go down the. There's a type of armor, and I can't think what it's called, and it's just like plate ring, plate ring, plate ring, plate ring, and I think that would look really good. It's like a Turkish.
Well, the potential is huge. I mean, like there's some really lovely centerpiece kits from the old Chaos, the Lamassu, the Bull Taurus, all that sort of thing. There's a lot they could. What was the big guy, the big character?
Astrogoth.
For the Astrogoth, that's right, in his walking chair.
No, it wasn't a chair. It was a.
It's a mech.
Yeah,
wasn't it?
He was in a
basically.
He was in a strapped half plate. That's the one. Thank you, Tentamon, for. It is a half plate armor. That's what I'm thinking of. The Turkish used them a lot at one point. Looks really cool in that style. What Astrogoth was he was turning into a statue, because that's what happened to all Chaos Dwarf sorcerers. As they used magic, they turned to stone, and then they got stuck in a plinth and left there for the elements to destroy. Because bastards. One of the reasons I like him so much.
Right.
Just utter bastards. He refused that, so he got strapped into a plinth that was then surrounded by metal, and then he just walked around using nothing but the power of his will to drive this steam-powered mech. And we're talking, this is in 1996. He was... No. 1994 that this was happening.
I was going to say it was earlier than that.
1994 he was doing it. So, as far as I'm concerned, he predates the steampunk movement when it got big, and he is the originator of steampunk.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. And
William Gibson just tried.
Did he ever have any mention in the end times?
Nope.
Astrogoth?
He
probably didn't.
No.
Did he? No. So he could still be around. They could easily transplant him.
One moment.
Are you double checking at him?
Hang on. No. I'm just going to say, what do you mean he could still be around? He is still around because...
Oh, wow.
Because I made one.
Superb. Oh, brilliant.
That is my Age of Sigmar Astrogoth.
Very cool. Love it.
And he's going to come and get your children.
Wow, that's superb.
I also quite like the fact that on the back there's all the demons infused into his metal. So.
Very nice. Very nice indeed.
So, yeah, as far as I'm concerned, goddamn Astrogoth never went away. Not only did he not die when the end times happened, he floated, like how Sigmar did. He floated around for a little while, and then a realm of metal built up around him.
Right, okay. So he's at the core of Shaman, is that what you're saying?
Yeah, he's there. There's him and Doom Rider, and that's where the realm of metal came from.
Okay.
Because Doom Rider!
Well, this whole notion of like souls from the old world floating around and then coalescing later is actually rather common these days, isn't it? It happens quite a lot. Let's be honest.
It does.
So there's no reason why that shouldn't.
Maybe you'll get Dante as the Stormcast from 40K.
I wanted Felix. I demand. Right, there's two people.
He kind of looks like one anyway. You know?
There's two people I want to see turn up as a Stormcast. Right, there's Felix Jaeger. I want to see him as a Stormcast just purely because I think that story would be heartbreaking for Gotrek.
Mm-hmm.
Done well, I think that would be a really, really painful experience. And the other one is Conrad from the Conrad trilogy, which no one here is going to understand what I'm talking about.
I think you mentioned this before because I'm pretty sure I asked the same question, which I'm going to ask now. Is it Crazy Vampire Conrad? You mean?
I was going to say, is it Mad
yes,
Vampire
I did ask this
Conrad?
question because I'm pretty sure I asked the same thing.
I was going to say, I would love to see that version, Mad Vampire Conrad as a Stormcast. That'd be hilarious.
He's got really big eyes, so you can paint the swirly bits in. No, I really honestly think they need to try and find a way to reference the Conrad trilogy, because for one reason and one reason only, just so I know how that story ends, because they wrote 3 books and it ends on a cliffhanger, and it's infuriated me for 30 years.
Wow. It's one of those characters where he actually does have a rule called 3 bats short of a belfry.
Yep.
Because he is that crazy, you know. I love characters who have silly special rules. Love it to bits.
Right, as I'm aware that we're coming up to time, there's 2 things that
we are.
There's 2 things I want to do before we finish. One is we've got a question we've got 2 questions that popped up in the chat that I've saved.
In the chat,
Sean asks, the Primarchs sound great. Where do I start with that as a beginner question?
Oh, which book? I mean, it doesn't really matter because they're all self-contained. I mean, they do occur within the heresy for the most part. Some of them are like retrospective, but just go for the ones you like. Go for whichever of the Primarchs you like the best. You know, the Magnus one is very, very good. The Fulgrim one is very good, and the Night Haunter one is superb.
Well, here's a question then: would people get more context or more entertainment from already knowing the Primarchs from reading a previous book, like another one of the Horus Heresy books? Then what would you recommend that way? Then would you recommend that if say Sean wanted to go and read the Magnus one, would you say he needs or should read Prospero Burns first, or would you say that's not as necessary?
It's not necessary, but I would definitely read, if you're going to read Magnus, then have 1,000 Suns and Prospero Burns on standby and read them together.
And for Fulgrim, you'd recommend Fulgrim?
Yeah, definitely. Now, for Fulgrim, it's slightly different. I would definitely recommend reading Fulgrim first. And
what was the other one? Because you mentioned 3 from the Primarch series.
Night
Haunters. Would you recommend a specific one for Night Haunter then? You could just read Night Haunter whenever.
Need to. You can just jump into Night Haunter. The only one I've avoided, and I've avoided it only because sounds terrible, but the writer. I mean, I love the Primarch, which is Lorgar, but it's written by Gav Thorpe.
Ooh.
And I'm sort of like, I'm not that fussed, to be honest. Not that fussed.
And the other question was from Matt, and it said, "Have you seen that Trevor McDonald is the new Games Master?"
It's great. He looks great as it. I'm dying to see how how he manifests and how he sounds and whatnot.
Why couldn't we get Angus
Deaton? He looks great.
Bring him back after all these years.
What, has enough time passed now, Andy?
Yeah, I think it's about time we brought Angus Deaton back.
All right.
Wow.
Okay. And then we're going to finish this off. Now, does anyone have a pen and paper? Because we know where this is going.
Have you drawn Mandrock the Beautiful yet, Gruff?
I haven't.
Oh my god.
But
I've always got pen and paper around somewhere.
So what we're gonna
it's the writing, isn't it?
What we're going to do now to finish up is we're going to make each a Chaos Champion.
You realise you're going to have 3 more characters you need to draw now when you do this.
I have a D1000 set up on the phone.
Okay.
Now we're going to only make a level 3 champion.
A level 3 champion. Are we rolling like randomly again?
Oh yeah.
Here?
Oh yeah.
Okay,
Now,
this is going to be
now
fun.
this time, however, we're not going to use the same one that we have done. We're going to be using dominant chaos attributes.
What did we use before?
All right.
We just used the originals. So what we have to do then is we have to roll a dice twice.
All right.
Right? So we have to find out which table we're going to roll on, and then roll on that table. So it's a D20, then a D1000. So,
Okie
who wants to go first? Should we do Andy's first?
Sure. Roll
yeah,
me.
sure.
Okay. So your first roll will be... Okay, right. And it's going to be 2, 3, 3. So Andy's furry time.
Oh no! Hope not.
That's just what it says. Andy, you are a Chaos Lord.
Oh my god!
Oh wow, that's actually a good one.
yeah.
That's a positive one.
The mutant is favoured by its patron Chaos power. Firstly, the mutant is chosen to lead some of the numberless servants of Chaos and is given 2 roles on the retinue table and the followers of Chaos.
Oh, you get followers, Andy.
Yay!
You've got a warband. How cool is that?
Okay, so I'll have to do that in a second. You also get a D6 roll. You have a demonic weapon.
Oh, okay.
Oh, for fuck's sake! That's insane. Do you have any idea how good demon weapons were back then? Oh no, Adam, do you know what that means? That kind of means you've got to roll up like the attributes for the friggin' demon weapon and the demon that possesses
Can I have
it.
some chaos armor as well, just to make me slightly more overpowered?
Oh, for God's sake!
Yeah.
What I got?
Yeah, demon weapons were mad back then.
Right, so you've got... Hang on, I've got to roll again. You have a Jabberwock.
A Jabberwock, okay.
As your follower.
As my what? As my follower. Oh, okay.
So you've got a Jabberwock as your follower, and you've got 16 Dark Elves.
What the fuck? Oh,
what kind of Dark Elves?
It just says Dark Elves.
This is insane.
So now we're going to do page 94 for demon weapons.
All right.
Oh my god.
Right, so I'm going to roll D10.
How many Dark Elves did he have?
16.
Yeah, so it's a full regiment basically.
Or harem,
possibly, yeah.
It would have been back then, believe me. All the Dark Elves back then were witch elves.
Oh my god.
So, you know. Yeah, right.
Right, your demonic weapon has a demon print in it.
Oh, that's pretty good.
What?
The demon print can be generated, right?
Yeah, you've got to generate a demon prince now, Adam.
Oh my
with its
god.
own chaos attributes and everything.
The
yeah.
pit
I hope
just
you
keeps
weren't in a
going.
hurry. Right, okay. So I've got to go to using the full system in the Followers of Chaos, page 35. Bloody hell, fire.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well-
do you see why you needed a games master for this game back
I
then?
wonder if like one of you two are going to roll like as a chaos familiar.
One of us is going to be like a chaos spawn or something, isn't it? We're going to devolve into a chaos spawn. That's
Right,
like,
okay. I'm going to try and do this as quickly as I can in order to generate this.
This demon prince.
Right, so... Yep, so it's a corn demon prince.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Right, so that's not so bad actually. So it's because we don't need rule sets as such, but basically it means that you have an auto kill weapon.
Okay, that's not bad.
Sucks sucks the blood and souls out of all your victims.
Mm-hmm.
So, but I won't go into the...
Very nice.
Yes, I won't go into all the rules attributes. So that's...
It also means, by the way, that when you can unleash that demon prince, if you want, you can actually have it come out of the demon weapon and use it as a miniature. Yeah, that's what they were like back then. It was
How do you get the demon back in the weapon? Really you just kind of go, come on.
You didn't. You didn't. You just let it rampage, you know.
So we'll do George's first one, which is
Chaos Spore.
115. Right, okay, so that is going to be...
Oh no, I don't like that laugh.
You've got a bestial face.
That's all right.
The mutant's face becomes identical to that of some kind of beast. The mutant's fear points are increased by 1. I've now got to roll again. You have... Fuck's sakes. Right, got to roll again.
Oh my god.
There's 20 animals to choose from.
Oh my god.
Great.
Come on, frog. The most terrifying of animals.
Of course.
You've got a bat.
Oh, that's
the
okay.
The face of a bat.
Yeah,
that's all right.
I'm
was platypus on the table as well?
Face.
Ant, ape, bat, bear, boar, bull,
I was going to say
deer.
Spiders on there somewhere.
That makes sense.
Oh yeah.
That.
Dog, wolf, dragon, eagle, horse. God, I wish you'd got horse.
Horse.
Lion, rabbit,
horse would have been fun.
Rat, raven, sheep, goat,
I would have called my chaos champion would have been called Bojack or something. Yeah.
Snake, spider, tiger, or weasel. You also Weasel, yeah.
Huh.
You also have night vision.
Oh, that's good.
Sonar ability.
Oh, okay. That's cool, actually. That's not bad.
Okay, so we'll roll my first one. 767. Okay. I've got rotting flesh.
Oh man, I would have had that.
I don't need to roll anything else. Yeah. I have rotting flesh. So back to Andy for his second one.
Oh, my second one. We're not done with me yet.
Yeah.
I was going to say.
Yeah, that was only one roll on the table.
Oh my god.
3 because you're level 3.
Yeah.
So that is a dominant attribute. Roll again. 415. 415. Sorry. Limb loss.
Oh,
which
okay.
means
members.
What's that mean?
Basically, you have lost a limb somewhere. It could be a leg, could be an arm.
Okay.
That's literally all it is.
Fair enough. Okay.
It's
all right.
It didn't get chopped off. It just fell off. Just fell off one day.
Sloughed off.
So disappears.
So
disappears into the realm of chaos.
So you got one arm with a sword on and no other, unless of course your demon weapons where your other arm was.
Maybe, yeah.
Right, and we'll do George's next one.
Okay.
That is also a dominant. 557. You have got...
Spider legs. Come on, spider legs.
Oh, you've literally just missed out on long legs. But you do have a long nose.
Hang on, he's a bat, so he has a long bat nose.
Oh, no. I tell a lie.
Oh.
I tell a lie. 557, I'm wrong. You've got limb transference. One or more parts of the mutant's anatomy have been moved to new locations on the mutant's body. Roll a d6 to determine how many parts have been moved. So roll a d6. d10, sorry. Your mouth has been moved.
Only his mouth.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Oh no, sorry, I tell a lie. I've done that wrong. So that was 4. So sorry. There was only one part got moved, so it's just your mouth has been moved.
Can George decide where it's moved to?
Oh, yeah, you've got complete...
Okay, I'll move it here.
Forehead.
So it's going from the bottom of your mouth
to
the top of your head. Okay.
Yeah.
So you know a bat with a mouth at the top of the head. And okay, my second one. 8, so that is right, we're into there. And we've got 406. 406. Faceless feature.
Oh my god,
So
again?
I have no face. So I have my skin dripping off and I have no face.
I was going to say, I mean, Andy's is absolutely exultant at the moment. Even with the limb loss, it's like, it's still a net positive. Ours are pretty pathetic at the moment, to be honest.
Right, so last one for Andy.
Oh.
That's, okay, that's...
This could be where it all comes down, you know? This is a falls apart.
That's a personal attribute. You've got 653. 653, 653, 650, 650, 653. Oh dear.
Oh.
Moronic.
Oh.
The mutant's mind shrinks. Intelligence -2, -20.
Oh my god.
And
that's pretty bad.
It becomes subject to stupidity. It must take a CL test when doing anything that requires the least thought. Fighting, running, going through a door. Failure means the mutant stands rooted to the spot trying to work out what's going on. If the mutant's...
That's pretty bad.
It gets worse. If the mutant's intelligence is 4 or less, it cannot understand or use weaponry. As a result, it cannot make weapon attacks. You have this incredibly powerful sword.
They can't do anything.
You just drag around.
I love it.
That's good.
That's a good character. That's kind
I
of
feel
fun.
bad for the demon prince.
Yeah.
Use me.
You can imagine it because it's a demon prince of course, so it's going to be angry as well as it's going to be shrieking at him. You know, I love it. That's very cool.
Right. So George's last one. That's a dominant, and it is number. We just had that number. No. What's the chance of doing that on a D1000? 749.
Oh no.
It's alright. I just saw short legs and it made me laugh. But you do have a silly walk. The majority of this room
Didn't we
have
get
extremely
silly
odd
walk
walks.
last time?
I think we got silly walk last time. Yeah.
I think we might have. Yeah.
It's because you've got like 15 numbers in each row. So yeah. So my last one. That's another dominant. 965. Warty skin. Every inch of the mutant's...
So you've got like rotting flesh and warty skin.
I wish I was kidding. I wish I was kidding. Yeah.
Brilliant.
It's weird that he's part of Slaanesha's cult. That's just strange.
Every inch of the mutant's body is covered in large and
isn't it?
repulsive warts. The mutant receives a bonus of +1 to its armor saving throw.
That's all right.
That's all right. Yeah. God, this is it's just varying levels of pathetic tonight, isn't it?
It really
in terms
is.
of our mutants. Wow.
Right, so we've got me, who is... I've got leprosy. Let's not call a spade here.
Yeah.
My mutant power is I have leprosy.
Pretty much it,
Yeah.
and all your facial features have like rotted off, you know.
Just everything is just... I'm just there like, yeah, go on, please. If you hit me, I might feel it.
Yeah, maybe.
And George...
Maybe.
George is a...
bestial bat-faced thing with a mouth in its forehead and a silly walk.
Yeah.
Apparently.
Yeah. And Andy has the most powerful weapon in the universe. And
Yeah,
too
and
dumb
he's
to
like
use
a
it.
mighty a mighty Chaos Lord who's favoured by the gods that wields a demon weapon with a demon Prince of Corn in it that instantly kills anything it touches, has a pet Jabberwock and a harem of 16 dark elves, only has one arm, and is also blessed with a tiny, tiny, tiny mind.
Why do they follow me?
So he can't actually do anything.
Why do they follow
Maybe
me?
they just... Maybe...
It's chaos, in it, you know?
Are they
maybe
after
they
my
follow
sword?
you because they just... Maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe. But you're so tough that they can't take it.
Maybe they think that you're some sort of like avatar of the gods, and maybe your moronic ways are just like strangely coded prophecies.
It's what they've always been waiting for. They just didn't know it. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe that's it.
Tentamon it's given the best name for my character. It's Batroc Le Leper. Fucking hell,
Wow.
I'm crying.
The gods have not been kind tonight,
No.
have they? I mean, wow.
The gods giveth,
Oh, God.
the gods taketh.
The gods take
Yeah.
it away, clearly. And sometimes they don't even give it. They just take
They just take everything. Aye. Oh, man.
Yeah.
Oh, that was beautiful.
And other times they don't give or take, they just rearrange.
Do you have a name for
As
your
they
George?
did with you.
For your dude, George?
Oh my god, I mean, what would you call it? I'm tempted to call it Cleese because of the silly walk.
Oh, man. It's just John. John the Mutant.
John the Mutant. And Andy, yours doesn't need a name. I imagine he can't remember.
Well,
his
I
name.
thought like Bovaton would be a good name for him. Bovaton, as it sounds like a name that you give to a stupid person. Bovaton. Bovaton.
Burberton Smash.
Or
And it-
Crunk, maybe.
Crunk, yes, yeah.
Brick. He's just called Brick. It's. I really like the idea that you've just got this like demon, this greater demon screaming at you. Pick up the sword and kill him now. And you're just looking at it, going, "Oh, the pretty metal!
Swing
it talks to
me.
me. I'm going.
Swing me! It's like
I'm
the
going to
Malleus
pet it and
Darkblade
hold it.
stories, but just far worse for the demon.
Yeah, far, far worse.
Oh my god! Oh, that was good.
And weirdly more tragic.
We need to.
But
We need to get like the D5000 stuff going. I think because that's when.
you can see why they changed that system, right?
Oh yeah,
I
absolutely.
mean, my god.
It's
Surely, just on a pure modelling level, I mean, how could you keep up with that?
well, you chop his arm off, you put a massive sword in his other arm, and you paint his eyes slightly cross-eyed.
It's just crazy system, that is. It's fun. I mean, don't get me wrong, it's real fun, but wow, is it impractical?
Can you even
Yes.
buy Jabberwocks anymore? They don't exist anymore in Warhammer, do they?
Oh
No.
There's a Jabber Slice.
That's true,
There's
for
a
the
Jabber
Beastmen,
Slice,
right?
which is kind
In
of
Forge
the-
World, yeah.
Yeah, it's the equivalent. It's the equivalent of the.
They're actually
Jabberwocks,
pretty good,
what they
at
used
least
to
in the
be.
video game, Total War Warhammer. They're very good.
The Jabber Slice is
Yeah.
brilliant.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's a brilliant monster. It really is. A lot of people just like use the data slates that's in the Beasts of Chaos book and just use it in their like Slaves to Darkness army or whatever, because it's very good indeed.
Yeah, it's a great beast.
But the Jabberwocks themselves still exist. I don't
No.
think they do.
No, the only
do
time
they?
I heard
No,
of a
they don't.
Jabberwock was from Alice in Wonderland. That's it.
Well,
Yeah.
where it
Yeah.
originates from, the Alice
That's
in
the
the
one,
Looking
yeah.
Glass, yeah.
I'm not gonna.
Beware the
I'm not gonna
Jabberwock.
find a picture of
My
it
son, when
because
Mooney's fat, yeah.
obviously trying to do anything tonight means that things break. So I'm not gonna touch anything. But have a look for the old Citadel Jabberwock miniature. It's brilliant.
Oh yeah, it's
absolutely
really
superb.
Good. It's quite big for a miniature of its era. It is actually quite a big mini, and it's pretty hideous as you'd expect. The Jabberwock is supposed to be like pretty hideous.
Yeah, it is really cool. The new one's all right, but that original one is gorgeous.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely gorgeous.
Yeah, it's very nice indeed.
Right then, shall we start telling everybody where to find us? We'll wind it down for the
Sounds
night.
Good.
So, Andy, where can people find you if they so wish to find you?
You can find me on YouTube as Decayed Andy. I'm going to be streaming in a little while. Going to be playing some Resident Evil 4 over on YouTube live. If you want to come and check me out there. I'm also on Twitter as Decayed Andy. And you can also find me on the Moonbase 2 podcast, which you can find going on Google, typing in Moonbase 2 podcast. You can find us on YouTube as well as Moonbase 2 Transformers podcast. Moonbase 2, it's pretty easy. Just slap it about and you'll probably find me.
Yeah.
I remember Googling Moonbase 2 and finding another podcast called Moonbase 2.
I know, I was disgusted by that. I don't think they're still going. I think they only did a few shows.
Mm-hmm. But it amused me greatly. I was also very confused. George, where can people find you if they wanted to summon you up as if you were a demon?
Well, people can summon me up as though I were a demon. People can find me at strangeplaygrounds.com, where you'll find links to all of my published fiction. You can find me at my Amazon author page at George Daniel Lee, where you'll find all of my published fiction, my short story collections and whatnot. You can find my latest short story collections, the Born in Blood volumes, over at perpetualmotionmachinepublications.com. You can find my various videos, podcasts, let's plays, etc. over at Exaggerated Elegy on YouTube, and you can also find me at Enigmatic Elegy on Twitter.
Excellent. You can find me on Twitter at Grufflock. You could also find me as the Fluffenhammer on Twitter as the Fluffenhammer. Was that confusing? No. Good. You can find the Fluffenhammer on Facebook. Just search for the Fluffenhammer. It's amazing how that one works. You can find the Fluffenhammer on Instagram. It's the Fluffenhammer. It's like it just keeps saying its own name. It's like the Candyman.
It's nice to say.
The Fluffenhammer. I like saying it very, very slowly.
Fluffenhammer is a nice word.
Fluffenhammer.
Yeah, it's a friendly word, Fluffenhammer.
Mm-hmm. Fluffenhammer will beat you with joy.
Yeah.
You can also find me on Instagram as AD Nickel. You can also find me everywhere else as AD Nickel or Grufflock. You can also find this show on the Discord. Go and join us on the Discord because the Discord is lovely. The Discord is a lovely, lovely place to be. Sean's there. He tells jokes. And sometimes I think I'm going to have to exterminate him. Is that too much? Exterminating one person? Just... localized exterminus.
Exterminators just for one person.
Yeah. Just localized exterminus.
The Inquisition have done it for less.
Yes,
so,
all right, cool. I'll fire up the World Killer Machine.
Yeah.
So with all
excellent, like the whim of a mad Inquisitor, you know. Oh, that continent looked at me funny. That cloud's a funny shape. Chaos. Exterminators.
Oh no. What I didn't realise is every time I shoot Sean with an exterminus missile, he comes back stronger, with bigger puns. Oh no, he's become the demon prince of punning. We're doomed.
Oh, no.
Doomed. So with all that being said, we're going to get out of here. Thank you so much to everyone in the chat tonight. It's actually been really fun. I'm sorry if I didn't get to say things. The chat was going by so quickly at one point, I couldn't keep up. So my apologies.
But no, thanks so much, guys, for coming and listening to us jabber on about stuff.
Yeah.
It's great fun. Great fun. Very happy to have you here.
There's the name of the show. Jabberwocking on about stuff.
Whee!
Great.
Best time to end it. Bye.
Brilliant. Bye-bye, guys.
have destroyed that which offended the Emperor. Victory for the righteous!